Because obviously,
no, but I guess my point is like, yeah, because hypothetically you could, because as you mentioned in that tweet, you could eventually transition from low fantasy, which is what you have in the world of Game of Thrones, to eventually high fantasy, because there's the gradual introduction of magic, dragons, the existential threat of the White Walkers, which hasn't been resolved in the books. That could be the thing that forces people to put aside their petty differences and become like actual heroes, like sacrificing themselves for the good of humanity. That's all awesome. I just don't know if George R.R. Martin is going to actually incorporate
for the record,
that
happens in season 8. It's just really bad. Like, think of Jorah Mormont, for example, right? He dies a hero. A lot of the characters at Winterfell
it doesn't it
hero thing.
Yeah, but, well, it doesn't, because a lot of those characters die, and the whole White Walker thing is just resolved like halfway through the season, and then it devolves once again into petty squabbling over land, power, the throne, just people going back to being assholes again.
That was, thematically speaking, my big issue with season 8, as well as everything else. But I would still say, because I don't even like a lot of the deaths, but I would still call them, they're supposed to be like, oh, the character ended up doing the right thing. Remember Theon? Like, he dies.
Yep.
Defending.
Jamie didn't. Jamie got crushed.
I almost don't want to get into it because there's so many things to talk about in terms of what they did with all different characters. But like, he'll have in his ending in his book, there'll be plenty of characters doing super heroic things at the end, more than likely, that are going to make.
I don't know if you say that with a lot of confidence. I don't know if they will. I don't know if that fits in George's like view of the world, and particularly now, like as he's constantly banging on about fascism and all the things that like hurt him about modern day life and that he finds triggering. I just don't know if he sees that in humanity anymore, and I don't know if he'd want to incorporate that into his books.
So you like, are you saying that there were, but there aren't anymore, like in the story of A Song of Ice and Fire?
I don't even know if he had a clear understanding of what he wanted his ending to be, like in terms of drill it down to like where he wanted each character to go. I think he has added and expanded upon the lore and the characters and the world so much as this series has progressed. He doesn't even really know how to tie it up at this point. I think he did it on the basis of, I'll probably figure it out when I get to the final book.
Well, as far as I'm aware, what stopped him a while back was something that was referred to as the Milanese knot, where he had written too many different events at the same time that he was having trouble in the timeline matching them up without crossing over and fucking everything up. So
right.
That's probably happened for sure. But I don't know. Like I think the notion, he does understand what it means for a person to be heroic, but he'll undercut it with the sense of like, this is what happens to true heroes in the real world that are filled with manipulative, snaky, asshole rat people, which to an extent I find interesting. But I think I get what you're saying, that like you wouldn't want that to be the ending point.
Yeah, I can see that as being part of your process of development, where like a lot of these heroes get cut down or undermined or whatever, and like the sneaky assholes of the world score temporary victories. But at a certain point, like in terms of just your dramatic resolution of this and giving your audience some kind of like emotional release at the end, you have to move past that. If you keep that as your thesis throughout the entire story and that's kind of how it ends, like, good God, that's bleak and depressing. There has to be something to justify all of this, and I just don't know if he has that in him.
I suppose we'll see. But like I said, it's just weird to guess right now because we've got the very bleak and nonsensical ending of the show versus the we haven't got a book ending.